So what I hope people understand is that hydrogen is critical to the function of your body on a daily basis. And without hydrogen, your body is not functioning at efficiency.
Welcome to Ending Chronic Disease, where we challenge everything you thought you knew about health. Join international best-selling author and wellness pioneer, Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, as he reveals how to transform your body, your mind, and your life starting today.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Fab Mancini, and I'm super excited to be with you today because, as you know, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to decrease, I'm on a mission to reverse, I'm on a mission to prevent chronic disease. As a doctor of chiropractic, I spent the last 38 years of my life really working on this space of wellness and holistic natural sciences because I am convinced that we are just living the wrong paradigm. We are trying so hard to manage symptoms through primarily pharmaceuticals rather than spending 80 or 90% of our times dealing with the root cause of our disease processes. That is really what I have found to be the answer towards not only reversing chronic disease, but more importantly, living a healthy lifestyle, living to longevity, living your optimum potential when it comes to your health. Well, today, I wanted to invite one of my dear friends, a mentor, somebody that has been instrumental in helping me not only understand these mechanisms and processes of how the body heals naturally, but the topic that I wanted to bring him in today is the topic of hydrogen water. I know we hear a lot of it in social media, we hear a lot of it in YouTube, we hear a lot of it in the news, but hydrogen water is one of the things that you will learn today is, in my opinion, one of the biggest secrets that I have found in the marketplace of healthcare that have yet to be utilized to the potential that it can. And that is the amazing Dr. Paul Barattiero. Paul, it was so great to see you again. Thanks so much for making the time.
Absolutely. It's my honor I'm grateful for everything we do together.
Well, I've been blessed because I've been in a lot of stages with you, attending one of your classes. You're one of the most exceptional speakers I have ever seen.
Thank you.
You have a way of bringing information in a practical way, but you also have all the science behind it, but you have a tremendous amount of passion. Now, you have dedicated a big portion of your life towards researching molecular hydrogen and hydrogen water. You become the leading expert in this topic worldwide. Tell me a little bit about what was the defining moment that made you realize that perhaps hydrogen water could be the answer to many of the disease processes that we're seeing out there?
It all started 20 years ago with my wife. She was sick. She had chronic inflammation. She had thyroid issues. She had anemia. She had short-term memory issues. She had gynecological issues. When she was on her menstrual cycle, she'd be almost bedbound for a week every month. And so it was me, who's never had any health issues, watching her, and it caused me to have compassion. It caused me to say, wow, what if that was me? What if I had that going on in my life every day? What would life be like for me? And it caused me to have compassion for her, and it caused me to want to help her because I love her. I like her. Not everybody likes maybe their spouse, but I do. I love her and like her, and she's the greatest person on earth to me. So that was really my cause of action, or my passion was to help her. And so Echo Water is the result of helping her.
Well, and I met your lovely wife, and I've been to your home, and I have seen in action what a rigorous process you guys have when you leave your message. I mean, I couldn't turn anywhere in your office or in your home where hydrogen water was not right there for everyone, all your employees, your kids, everybody to enjoy. So let's talk a little bit about this topic of hydrogen water, because that's really, I know you and I can talk about many different topics, but this one in particular, you were one of the key individuals many years ago that really showed me the importance of hydrogen water. For years, we have talked about purifying our water. And we know right now, especially, there's a lot of discussion out in the public regarding the toxicity levels of our water. So let's start there, because I don't think a lot of people understand that what we drink, especially tap water, and especially in some of the areas out in the nation, and even some countries, because we may have some viewers that are coming from international countries. Tell me a little bit about what is it that you have seen in today's world as the biggest problem when it comes to toxicity within our water?
Well, at least here in the U.S., all of the laws and regulations are from the 1960s. So we know that chemicals in manufacturing, chemicals used on farms, chemicals that find their way into water is vastly different today in 2025 than it was in the 1960s. And yet there's been no regulation changes in water cleaning or what considers something potable water or drinkable water since the 1960s. So that's a big problem. We should never rely on the government of any country we live in to clean the water to the level that's acceptable for us. We should choose to clean the toxins and contaminants out of water to the level that we want. And I always say, don't force your body to be a filter, get a filter. And so it's a lot better if you filter out the contaminants before they get into your body than expecting your pancreatic system to filter out all these chemicals. And the kind of things we're talking about are class 3 narcotics. You're talking Ritalin, you're talking all kinds of, and let's just think of it this way. Any drug or medication that someone's taking, your body's never going to use all of it. And so it's going to go into your urine and right into the toilet and therefore into your water supply. So all medications are in the water supply. The last test that I know the EPA did was, almost 20 years ago now, but they found over 27 different medications in the water. They did this in 27 municipalities in the U.S. So they found blood pressure medication. They found all these things in water. So even if you don't have a blood pressure issue, you're still taking medicine every day, even in small amounts. So it's really best to filter the water. That's kind of like water 101. Filter the water first, and that's the first thing we need to do.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand, because when I started graduate school, we went through some of my classes, and because we're holistic providers, we were taught lifestyle changes, and water was one of the main topics where our professors were talking about the contaminants in our water. And this was 38 years ago. But they were talking about the fact that we needed to purify our water. Said, we've had a lot of filters and a lot of education on that, even though I wish I could tell you the majority of Americans use filters, they don't. But the ones that do understand the value of it. To me, right. You upgraded me from not just filtering the water from those toxins, you upgraded me to the hydrogen component of that water. And that's really what I want to talk about, because you and I go way back for years, but it seems like when people hear today, hydrogen water, they think it's one of those trends that are just happening right now. It's the hot topic of the day, even though you and I know, especially you've been in this space for many, many, many years. So tell me a little bit about some of the research and some of the science base that you have identified in this space to let people know that this is not a trend. This is actually a reality. And in my opinion, not just a reality, a requirement, a necessity for us to actually live to our health potential. That's why all we drink is hydrogen water. I mean, I don't travel anywhere without my hydrogen water. And by the way, this is the sexiest bottle, the flattest that I've ever seen. I've had every hydrogen bottle that you created up to now, but this one tastes the cake. But talk a little bit about the science, because I do want to make sure that people understand this is not a trend.
Well, thank you. And you're right, it's not. I've been in this process for 20 years, but Echo as a brand is 16 years old. And so people need to understand that It's not going away. We're just increasing awareness. And then we're increasing how many people in the world are utilizing Echo Water. I can tell you without letting the cat out of the bag, we just shipped 10 flasks to one of the top NFL teams in the country. And that makes our third NFL team that is now using our water for their players. And so it's very, very exciting. We have NBA, we have golfers, we have everybody you can imagine. Why are they doing this? Why? And the reality is this. And first I want people to understand, when you were born, your body created hydrogen gas naturally and here's the big if your gut was working properly. We used to say all babies were born with a gut that was working properly, but that's not the case anymore. Today, we have babies that are born with a gut that's disrupted because of chemicals in their sweet mom that doesn't even know it was harming the child. And so we can come out of the womb without proper immune function. We can come out of the womb without a properly functioning intestinal tract. So let's pretend that we were all perfect and our guts were working correctly. We would produce hydrogen gas naturally, and we would not have chronic disease. We would not have inflammatory response constantly. We would not have food allergies. We would not have autoimmune. We would not have all kinds of things, rheumatoid arthritis, brain issues, energy issues, all the things that we're suffering from every day, we would not have, because hydrogen would be managing oxidative stress and inflammation. That's the primary thing that hydrogen does, is it manages oxidation, especially oxidative stress, and then chronic inflammation. Why do I mention that first? Because the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is disease. That's the leading cause of disease, and pain in the body and everything else. So as we all, and it's estimated over 90% of the population have a gut issue, that means you're not producing hydrogen the way you're designed to. And so you're going to have issues. You're going to, because you don't have hydrogen. And people that are skeptical, I love that. But let's talk about something really simple for you to understand. Everyone knows there's digestive issues. If you don't, we've been living under a rock. But we know there's digestive issues. We know there's gluten and dairy intolerance. We know that. If you don't know that, I don't know where they've been. But what causes that? Well, that's improper digestion. And so what is in our stomach that causes us to begin a digestion process? It's stomach acid, right? So what is stomach acid? We know it's hydrochloric acid, but what are the letters HCl stand for? That H is hydrogen. So you can't even make stomach acid without hydrogen gas. And therefore we begin to understand that something as simple as stomach acid, you can't even have it without hydrogen. Now we can start to think of all the neurologic issues. We can start to think of mitochondrial function. We can talk about ATP production. We can talk about cholesterol. We can talk about blood pressure. We can talk about diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever you want to talk about. There are studies on it. But just coming from a basic thing is just your stomach acid you can't even have without hydrogen. So what I want and hope people understand is that hydrogen is critical to the function of your body on a daily basis. And without hydrogen, your body is not functioning at efficiency.
Well, it's interesting because when you hear one of your lectures and you have these incredible slides that you explain the science, the biology, the physiology of it all, it makes us, I went to graduate school. I've taken hundreds and hundreds of continuing education courses. I study acupuncture, I study energy medicine, and when I discover this value of hydrogen water, especially water, something that we drink every day, why are we not leveraging something that is a natural process, something that we do daily, but then try to add the component that can really allow our bodies to function? But you've often said to me and to many other people that follow you, and and that not all hydrogen water is created equal. I know you've said that again and again. So, but for those of us out there that may be listening and watching this right now, what is it that we should look for when it comes to choosing the right hydrogen water technology or potentially products? Because, you know, some of us are on the go like me and you. We travel on a weekly basis, lecturing all over the world. You have other people that have a family of 5 or 4, and they're trying to manage their household. Water exposure is in so many ways, but what is it that we should look for when it comes to a hydrogen water, either product or particularly technology that is out there?
That's a great question, because once Joe Rogan talked about Echo Water, it exploded knowledge and it exploded us because he uses our water system. And all of a sudden, all these products I call scam products came from China. Not that all products from China are scam, but in the hydrogen bottle world, 95% are all scam products. And what do I mean by that? If you are seeing bubbles come up, that doesn't mean it's hydrogen. Even though they're selling you that bottle saying it's hydrogen, you have to understand the technology being used. If it is an electrolysis-based product, it is going to create chlorine, it's going to create ozone, it's going to not create any hydrogen if you're using clean water. So it's a catch-22. Here you're buying this product that if you put tap water in it, or you even put filtered water with minerals, it will produce a small amount of hydrogen, but it will produce a lot of chlorine. If you put distilled or reverse osmosis or purified water, it won't produce anything. And so it's a waste of money. That is any bottle that is electrolysis based. Our technology is a proton exchange membrane, a proprietary proton exchange membrane, which means we can use distilled water, we can use reverse osmosis, we can use deionized, we can use whatever water you want to put in it, and we're still going to produce 6 parts per million, 8 parts per million of hydrogen gas. We have the highest performing hydrogen products in the world. We're the original company. And so people are getting scammed with these $50, $60, $100 bottles. I will tell you that we can't even produce and get it into our warehouse, the flask that you showed, for $60. We can't even do it. And we don't manufacture in China, by the way. We manufacture our products in Philippines and South Korea. So understand that our flask isn't a Chinese-made product. It is a Philippines, and we control it. We designed it. That's what people need to understand. But the easiest way to know if you have a true hydrogen product is you should only purchase something that has certification from IHSA, the International Hydrogen Standards Association out of Japan, and the only laboratory in the U.S. that is given the rights to be able to test for the IHSA standards is H2 Analytics in Las Vegas, Nevada. And they can give a certification that you have met the IHSA standards. We were the first company in the world to have IHSA certification in hydrogen. And we continue to have all of our products. You will not find many products. There's no other hydrogen machine in the world that has met the certification except for ours. And there's only a couple other bottles that have actually met that certification. So that's your first true way to know, is if they cannot on it, they can display that logo that they have met the IHSA certification, you should never buy that product because it's a scam, non-hydrogen product.
I know that in your clinical world, especially with all of the individual experiences that you've had with so many people that you have worked with in the past, what are some of the surprising but also consistent health transformations that you see on a regular basis people report that hydrogen water has actually created in their lives? Anything that comes to mind that are consistent? Just when people start drinking hydrogen water, these are the things that people are reporting back.
Yeah, every day. I just had a podcast today with an amazing woman. Her name is Diane Gilman. She's known as the Gene Queen. And I literally was on her podcast today. She's 79 years old. She has a podcast for being able to be healthy while you're getting old, right? And so she just got our flask and she said, Paul, I haven't been able to sleep in years. The first day I drank the water, I slept like I haven't slept in years. She goes, I'm dealing with joint pain and inflammation every day of my life. And that went away. She said, I feel energy. My skin looks different. So all these kind of things are going to be the first things that people notice when they drink the water right away, is the fact that their body will function properly. Their skin will look better, their hair, their pain, all of that.
Well, I love it because that is one of the biggest challenges out there, as you know, that has caused a lot of the chronic diseases. And I think people need to understand that the way that you explain it is that the hydrogen water is going to impact not just one system in the body, but pretty much every system in the body. So now, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but I want you to go a little deeper because I think this is an important question. And that is, you talked about the gut-related disorders that people are having. And we talk about how hydrogen water supports the microbiome of the body. And all of this has implication in mood, immunity, brain function. Tell us a little bit more about the mechanism of how is it that it supports that microbiome and what are the benefits by doing that on a regular basis when you actually drink the hydrogen water?
Well, when it comes to the microbiome, we're really talking about bacteria, right? We have anaerobic and we have aerobic, and we should have 96 to 99% of the bacteria should be anaerobic and only 1 to 4% should be aerobic. Unfortunately, these bacteria require an environment to live in, and it is typically an electrical environment. And so when we have overuse of antibiotics or we have different chemicals like pesticides that come into our gut, it disrupts that electrical potential. And so those bacteria no longer have a home. And so we'll lose the ability to have anaerobic microflora unless we have a negative electrical potential. If we have a positive electrical potential, which is what will happen when we have these disturbances, aerobic bacteria will thrive, but anaerobic will not. Well, automatically with aerobic bacteria, we'll have sugar and carb cravings and we'll have anxiety and depression. If we have anaerobic, then we're going to crave fatty acids and fiber, very different food. So first of all, our cravings come from the bacteria in our gut, not from ourselves. So you can blame the bacteria, not yourself. The other thing that we need to understand is hydrogen, within an hour of drinking it, hydrogen water, when hydrogen gas gets into the intestinal tract, it will start to return the biome to its natural state, which is a negative electrical potential. There are studies out there showing that anaerobes, strict anaerobes, must have an environment that is a negative 300 to a negative 400 millivolts. Hydrogen water will facilitate that. And so within, and this is no guarantee and not a promise for anyone, but typically people that have food allergies or gluten and dairy intolerance or other issues, they say that within a couple weeks, they're starting to be able to eat those foods without having inflammatory responses. So that's really incredible. But again, we need to understand that hydrogen neutralizes hydroxyl radicals, what's called peroxynitrites. It also is an ROS scavenger for those of you eggheads like we are who understand what I'm saying when I say these big words. But the reality is hydrogen will change the landscape of your gut so that the bacteria that's supposed to be there can live there again. And that's what's critical for immune function. 70% of your immune function is tied to the bacteria in your gut. And so as we restore the gut, not only can you eat foods, but you can have an immune function that's proper.
And you know, that what's interesting is that I know a lot of people, and for those of you that this may be a little above your understanding, just know that most of us really understand that most of the time people are struggling with their digestive issues. whether you feel upset stomach, sometimes you refer to it as weakness and tiredness, and you talk about pain, you talk about potentially a feeling that just doesn't feel quite right. But in closing, Paul, let's talk a little bit about if you could just communicate one thing to every family member, because as you know, when we started adding the hydrogen water in our bottles, and then we started buying the systems for our homes, and like we travel everywhere with hydrogen water, we realized that we're talking about not just ourselves, but our families. And I think as a parent, all of us has a responsibility to ensure that our children have the best possible chance to be healthy. This is one of the things that I'm very committed to, is to educate parents as to creative ways that they can actually begin to create the environment that their children will have the best possible chance later on. Because as you know, chronic disease is rampant among children. Many of these, we never saw them in children. We only saw them in adults, and usually after 60 or 70 years old. Now we're seeing that I think it's over 30%, over 40% of all children have some kind of chronic disease. It's ridiculous. I mean, what happened to our healthy children? But if you have one thing to communicate to us about understanding the value of hydrogen water and the potential, not only of prevention, but also maintaining a healthy body that is being completely overlooked by mainstream medicine, what would it be?
Well, it would be simply getting that hydrogen into the body will reverse the negative issues that are happening from food, from air, from stress. We literally have 3 ways the toxins get into our body: food, breath, and lotions and creams that we put on our skin. So if we are taking in contaminants, which we are, and for children, I still remember the show, Dr. Oz did a show like 15 years ago where he tested the urine of middle schoolers, and they had on average 27 pesticides in their urine. He changed them all to an organic diet, and within 3 days, there were 0 pesticides in their urine. And so it really is. Imagine your children having 27 chemicals that are killing bugs in the fields. Of course, they're going to kill the bugs in your gut. And so with pesticides in our gut, we are having a problem. Well, guess what? Hydrogen can outperform growing bacteria faster than pesticides can kill them. And so that's what it is. It's going to be a lifestyle change of drinking hydrogen water so that you can have proper health. And that's what it is. And that's going to facilitate better sleep, which is going to be one of the greatest things for children and growth, is to have them sleeping properly, having all the stresses of the day gone through sleep and repair. Also, having energy. So many people talk about the fact that they do not have sustainable energy during the day. And so there's sugar and carb loading. They're taking all these drinks that have caffeine in them, and they're doing all kinds of stimulants just to be able to live what we would consider a normal life, not even an extraordinary life, just a normal life. Hydrogen can do that. There was even a study, coffee versus hydrogen water, and hydrogen water won by 10% more energy increase. So all I can say, and I don't want this to sound like a commercial, but all I can say is you need to be drinking hydrogen water every day so that you can reverse all the issues that you don't even know you're doing to your body. And trust me, you will notice a difference. It doesn't take 6 months. It's the first day that you'll start noticing differences.
Well, for those of you that are watching, I hope that you're listening. I hope that you're inspired to recognize that maybe this is what you've been praying for, or wishing for, and hoping for, something new, something exciting, something that actually may be the answer to some of the issues that you're going through right now. Paul, I can't thank you enough for the time you're giving us. And for those of you that are listening right now, I'm going to put a link in here, which not only is going to have more information, and especially a link that you will find on the latest hydrogen water studies, which has been compiled. There's over thousands, almost, I think it's almost up to 2,000 now, It's crazy. It's how many scientific studies have been written about this subject matter, but it continues to be one of the ones that is completely ignored by conventional healthcare medicine. And we want to bring you this type of innovation because we're on a mission and you matter. We care about your health. And we want to make sure that we care about the health of your children, potentially your grandchildren. Also, if you have aging parents, I mean, one of the things that we did when we first learned about hydrogen water is that we bought the bottles initially and we bought it for every member of the family. We make sure my mom had one. We make sure my children had one. I remember my kids coming from school saying, Dad, Mom, they think I'm so cool because I'm carrying this bottled water, in my school. And in reality, imagine that. Would you rather have your children drink hydrogen water instead of sodas, instead of energy drinks, which are full of sugar, are full of pollutants, are full of caramels and things that are not going to help your children actually be healthy? So in closing, Paul, give me a word of wisdom of what do we need to be living with?
We need to leave with, there's the easiest way to get Echo Water into your life is the flask that Fab showed earlier, right here, right? And so this is great. This is something you'll have for 5 years, 10 years, whatever you're going to use it for. But we also just introduced, for those of you that have gut issues, we did just introduce a drink that is a prebiotic. There's 3 prebiotics as well as hydrogen, and it tastes like crisp apple. So it's a beautiful flavor, stick pack. You can try that as well. And we actually have a bundle right now going on where if you purchase one of these, you'll get 2 months supply of the prebiotic hydrogen drink. And if you use Fab's code, you'll get additional percentage off of the already great bundle price. That's going to be the best way you can try it if you're skeptical, and it's going to really change your life. So that's what I would recommend.
Well, you heard it right here. I want you to click on this link. I want you to learn. I want you to read some of the studies because, believe me, that will actually tell you the story better than anything. And more importantly, start using hydrogen water every single day. I can tell you from personal experience and the one of my family, one of the best decisions, one of the best biohacks by far that we have used over the last few years. And really, Paul, I have you to thank because you are so knowledgeable about this subject matter. I know you're serving millions of people out there, but we really appreciate that it's made such a difference in our family. And I know it will for those of you that are watching right now. So thank you so much for joining us, and God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one.
To learn more about Dr. Fabrizio Mancini's groundbreaking work, visit www.endingchronicdisease.com and join the movement. Together, we can end the silent epidemic of chronic disease and create a healthier, more vibrant world. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be well and stay inspired.